We're back for episode 7 of Sisyphus here on the Culture Cave. Make sure you like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into it. Well, Emmett, what did you think of this episode?
Well, this was, it's sort of like the B-side to the previous episode. We're getting to see the events from Sohei's point of view after we were locked to hunt his soul and his sort of perspective. And, we got to see what she was doing in the meantime. She picked up with our good old friend Jason. And I don't know about you, I was real happy to see that man again. He was very charming as always,
Well, he's got a nice hairdo now. Tell you
Yeah,
what about rich money. Riches I don't know what I'm saying. If you're rich, you can afford a good haircut. And we know these days you can only get a haircut if you have a relative who's a hairdresser.
Yes, or you're able to buy a bubble or something that you can keep a hairdresser in, and then
a little hairdresser in the bubble.
Yeah, just Edward Scissorhands in a little bubble that only you get to see. But he's won the lottery, so maybe that's what he has set up now. Again, that could be it. But yes, no, he's dyed his hair and changed it from the previous sort of delinquent style that he had previously. Yeah. So,
actually, question for you. Actually, we'll get into the love triangle stuff because there was hints of a love triangle between the three in this episode. But and I do have some thoughts about that. But before we talk about that, I want to know what you think about the sort of post explanation as to why what we saw in the last episode wasn't actually a Deus Ex Machina. So they were explaining how he got to see her there and how he rescued her from there. Do you think that actually is enough to be like, oh, okay, I get it now? Or is it just come on, guys, you didn't have to explain it. He just saved her. He just saved her, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's still, in that episode, still a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, but at least they worked backwards and been tried to justify it a little bit. It is funny, though, that this episode is basically a flashback of Sohei's explaining how she got to the bridge, and then in this sort of pullback, we pull back even further to catch up with Jason, and I'm just great, fantastic. We're just gonna keep on running into more people and go further and further back in the timeline.
Yeah, it was a catch up within a catch up, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very funny, but I did think that his little catch, and at least they also, because we had talked about the fact that we were worried about Jason because he was because the Control Bureau monitoring who wins the lotteries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And at least in his flashback or his recounting, he admitted that he was worried about potentially going for it in case that got him caught. But he basically was worth a shot. Again, I've got nothing else going on. In my life really. We need this money. And he took the chance and it seemed to pay off.
And I think that actually the amount of suspense they built into him going with the numbers, and it was the time was running out. I really liked. Obviously, we already knew that he did win the lottery, so we already were told.
We already knew the outcome, but it was still kind of tense at the same time. Watching him run from one shop to the other, trying to find a working lottery machine before it hits 12 o'clock. Yeah. It's a little bit of tension in there for fun.
Yeah, there's a nice little bit of tension. It wasn't quite like the in the first season of Lost character of Hurley, who is a lottery winner, and you don't really find out until you get his flashbacks. And then in the episode, he just wins the lottery. You're hang on, this character was a lottery winner? Whereas this one, we already knew that he was a lottery winner before we saw him win the lottery. But yeah, I liked a little bit of tension. Okay, so he seems to be sort of having a nice little relationship with Hay, but it's flitting back and forth between him calling her sis and wanting her to be his girlfriend. So this might be a cultural difference, so it's not weird.
Yeah.
But it felt like he was trying too much to be hey, I'm a good guy, I want to be your friend. And then he was also but go out with me, please. And then after he's oh no, that's okay, I was just kidding. We're actually just friends.
Yeah. Well, definitely he is trying to get closer to her, and when he feels that the romantic advancements don't necessarily work, he maybe tries to become closer to her by using, because I think in Japanese, I don't know necessarily about Korean, where it's the way you refer to people can very much influence or reflect how your relationship has developed with them, how formal or informal you speak to them. So I think it might be a little bit of him trying to get more informal with her to in his mind deepen their connection a bit, be able to speak more freely between each other. again, I'm not sure. Like again, that's just with my knowledge of like Japanese, which I'm studying. I don't know if that carries over to Korean, but it was what I sort of thought of when I saw it. It does again give a weird subtext to him trying to romance her, but also referring to her as sis.
Yeah, yeah.
Little incestuous there, buddy. But
Well, not
again,
real incest, but it's a
yeah,
little mixing your relationships up. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's a bit weird at times. But I will say though that like his earnestness to like try and like help Sohei, and the fact that he is just so deeply infatuated with her is oddly endearing. He's kind of like a lost puppy to a certain extent. Like where like she even tells him, it's like, if you hang around me, there's a good chance you'll die.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem necessarily super dissuaded by that,
Yeah, no, I really like that about him too. I like the fact that he left at the airport. It's kind of like a lot of TV romances. And I'm not saying this will end up being a romance, but a lot of TV romances end with someone running at the airport and meeting them at the gate.
Yeah.
And this one actually seems to, if it does lead to romance, it's not going to. But if it does, it started at the airport. He left and didn't go. It's kind of like at the end of Friends. No spoiler.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah.
It's like at the end
Spoilers
of Friends.
for like a decade-old show. At this.
She got off the plane. Yes. So that's basically what he did. He didn't get on the plane, and then I love the little moment between him and Hante Sul in the car, where Hante Sul's like just like saying how crap this like really expensive car is.
God, Hante Sul, like he's such a rich prick, if you know what I mean. There, it's like this man wins the lottery and buys a fancy car, and he's critiquing the fancy car that he bought. It's like, all right, not all of us are Elon Musk level rich.
Yeah.
Some people just won the lottery.
And it's also like, whoa, Hante Sul, slow down. I mean, Hei's definitely going to choose you because you can turn on the heater. Whoa, Hante Sul. Like, who are you trying to impress here? You've seen a picture of you married in the future. There's no need to be jealous here.
Such a weird dick measuring contest in that car. And I'm not sure that Sohei was like at all amused by it and just kind of watching these idiots like bump up against each other.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of these things. Like it's funny because like Hante Sul like has a couple of these moments where like he either intentionally or unintentionally looks down on some people like for being poorer than him or being not as intelligent as he is, and it's very funny to think of because again he came from nothing as well. So it's like maybe it's a little bit of a disconnect that he's grown as he's become wealthier.
Yeah,
where he's like separated himself from like other people a lot more.
Could be, yeah, could be. It is actually the way that a lot of these sort of rich billionaire geniuses are sort of portrayed. It's a little bit like how Mark. I wouldn't say Mark Zuckerberg's a genius, like, but he had a good idea.
He made a lot of money.
Yeah, like in The Social Network, he's sort of portrayed a little bit like that too. But okay, so whereas in real life we know he is the devil. So, but okay, so
he's a lizard person.
He's a lizard person. If you were to believe the theories. So I want to talk a little bit before we get into some more of the time travel stuff. I want to get into the boss man or boss mang if you watch The Expanse, the guy who's like the head of the board of directors or whatever. And we found out that there was a man, assuming it's Sigma. We're pretty sure it is Sigma actually, giving his wife medicine. And he actually went through a really interesting arc in this episode where he eventually ended up dying by suicide. And he actually, I don't know, I was on this guy's side at the end. What about you?
It's again, Hante Sul pulling another classic Hante Sul ridiculous situation where like while he's being drugged and being knocked unconscious, he has like the soundness of mind to reach into his ear and like put his like communication device there.
I love it.
To record, and I'm like, what?
I want to know what mushrooms the writers were on here. Like,
yeah. So like you could have easily just been like, oh yeah, like he didn't need to take it out of his ear. He could have just been like, oh yeah, I had like a microphone so I could speak to Sohei, but it was recording everything. But like the fact that he like takes it out of his ear and puts it there, and he sort of puts the director in a sort of lose-lose situation where like he's failed Sigma and now Hante Sul's getting him kicked out of the company basically. So his wife's gonna die. There's nothing he can do about it, and it adds a certain level of tragicness to the character.
There is tragedy, definitely.
And we see how much it affects his daughter, who, Hante Sul's former lover and Eddie's current lover. Yeah, and also Hante Soul's psychiatrist,
Yeah.
for better and for worse. She's really devastated by everything that's happened, and
Well, obviously, but basically,
yeah,
it's both of her parents.
yeah,
But yeah, like I think. I don't know. Saying I'm on his side maybe is a bit strong because he wasn't the best of guys, but I think that definitely there was enough humanity built into the character that he did get a lot of empathy at the end. That's how I felt anyway.
yeah. He wasn't just like evil for evil's sake. It was he was backed into a corner because of his love for somebody else, which is a fairly common trope with anything. But still, again, we all have people we care about, and it put in situations like that. We can
Yeah.
all easily be sort of like have our arm twisted into doing stuff that we wouldn't normally do for the sake of others,
Yeah, exactly.
So, again, I did have some sympathy for him by the end of it,
Yeah, it actually led to what I like to call. We talked about Hante Soul being the bit Tony Stark. It led to what I like to call his "I am Iron Man" moment, where he comes.
I thought the same thing. The room that he's in looks exactly the same as from like the first Iron Man movie.
He didn't tell all the reporters to sit on the ground, but that was the only other thing. But yeah, so he comes out and he basically says, "My brother, I'll see you again." And then he says, "And Sigma, wherever you are, I'm coming for you," or whatever. And I just thought, okay, one thing, it's gonna be like, okay, this guy's crazy. What's going on?
Yeah.
We already thought he was a bit mad, but interestingly, then it goes to obviously, first of all, Hante Soul. It shows you that he doesn't care about his material possessions. He doesn't care about the company that he's built. He literally just cares about finding his brother and getting to the bottom of this crazy puzzle that's going on.
Yeah, it's like he's basically willing to like it's gonna be in universe that's gonna be a weird editorial the next week where it's like what the hell was Hante Soul talking about?
Yeah.
His brother's dead, and it's like is he gonna kill himself? Like what's going on? It's like he again from our perspective it's like I'm going to like get you Sigma. From everyone else it must be like the most confusing situation ever.
Yeah, who is
especially
Sigma?
Like who's Sigma? What is Sigma? I suppose also getting Sigma's name out there is probably a good thing because then it means if Hante Soul mysteriously dies, then
Yeah. So we do see who we assume is Sigma, and I'm just gonna say, either I'm completely wrong or Hante Soul has the best cosmetic surgeon out there.
Yeah, it seems like a different man. I don't think we've like seen anyone who could be Sigma from.
Well, I think we're still early enough. Like we're not even halfway through yet because it's 16 episodes. Yeah. So we're about to go into the halfway episode next week. So I think this is still early enough to introduce your big bad guy. Like if he's a bad guy, I don't know if he's a bad guy, but definitely a big antagonist. And I think it's early enough to do that. I think if we were watching a film, it was like an hour and 40 minutes long. Around the 40-minute mark, if your bad guy didn't come in until then, that and he's just been talked of before that would be okay for me. So I'm not actually linked to the idea that Sigma has to be connected to anything. He might be. He probably is. Maybe he's Hante. Maybe he's Hante Soul and Hayes' son. I don't know. Like who knows? Maybe there's something going on. But it's not essential for me that there is something going on. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I know. I was just thinking, like, because I don't think we had seen him at any stage beforehand, except obviously in front of his wall of monitors. The thing I find funny about the wall of monitors, and I don't know if this tickled you either. Why are all the monitors just showing the same thing?
Yeah, what's the
That's
point?
the thing that happens. Yeah, like that happens in a lot of TV shows and stuff, where all the monitors are just showing the same thing. It's like that's entirely not the point of having multiple monitors. Multiple monitors are for like monitoring different things, but like having them all focused on Hante Soul is just like, yeah, where Hante Soul is.
Well, I will say, okay. Let me do some analysis on this, Emmett. Right? Let me do some analysis on this. Now, it is Hante Soul. It is that one moment. You are exactly right. However, excuse me. However, okay, get ready, guys. This is why I get paid the small bucks, right? This is why I get paid the small bucks because this is top level, right? Where have we seen that array of wall before? We've seen it in the Matrix 2 in the architect's office, right? And that is showing every iteration of Neo, right? Because every time the one comes, it's showing every iteration of Neo and showing that it happens the same every time. But for Neo, our Neo, which we're following, it happens differently that time, and he does succeed. Now, here's my point. Possibly this is hinting at in some way that this is that obviously it is the same Hante Sul, but the idea of time being in a loop, like a paradox, even though it is just the same Hante Sul, they're sort of alluding to the idea that it's happening over and over and over again. And therefore, it's like every one is a slightly different Hante Sul, even though it's not. It's sort of like,
Yeah.
And that might be alluding to the idea, just to give us a little grain, it's a reference to the Matrix. Maybe our Hante Sul we're following will break everything and maybe actually eventually change things.
So what you're saying is like it's not just the same recording, it's recordings from all these different timelines that have happened exactly the same.
Not quite.
Okay, because I was thinking then like maybe like later on in the season, are you suggesting then that like one of them, the monitor that's focused on the current Hante Sul, will do something different, then like
okay, so that
really freak out Sigma?
Maybe, but I don't think that's the case. I to be honest with you, Emmett, I've analyzed a few things on the channel which have like time loops in them and stuff like this. Well, it's not a time loop, sorry. It's a bootstrap paradox. And the idea that if you go back in time and like affect something in the past, the idea that it is happening multiple times isn't actually true. Like there only is one of me.
Yeah.
I was born once, I will die once. So the idea of it actually happening infinity times or whatever isn't actually true. It is only happening once. Okay, it's a really complicated thing, right? Having said that, I think they're alluding to the idea. They're trying to put in the audience's mind that there are these multiple times it's happening and there is a chance he'll break this cycle, right? I think they're trying to put that in a little bit as like from a reference to the Matrix. Do I believe that's going to happen? I think in my heart of hearts, I think the show's going to end with everything happening again. That's how I think it's going to end.
Well, again, with the title of Sisyphus again and the futility of the original myth, it's hard to, imagine. There's the part of you that wants things to turn out well, for everybody, but then there's the part of you that's sort of aware of like the tone that they're setting and the seeds that they're laying. So
and all I'm going to say to the listeners, okay, guys, so look at me right now. I'm being serious for you, right? We're going to have Emmett on the Afterlife podcast soon. He's going to be going through Dark with us. Okay, bear that in mind when you're making comments. That's all I'll say. Okay. No
spoilers.
Thanks very much, guys. That's us. Emmett, any last mentions you wanted to get in?
All I will say is they really need to be watching Who Wins the Lottery a little bit more in the Control Bureau. They couldn't have picked out Jason, and
they were literally at his house. They were at his house.
They were at his house. They know his family. How did they not piece it together? Unless again, this all has to happen. Who knows? But currently, I'm rooting for Sohei and Jason just so that they maybe break the time loop situation. So like if they get married instead, then it's a whole different timeline. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, that could be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in episode 8 next week. So, guys, thanks very much for joining us then. Subscribe to the Culture Cave if you haven't already. We've got loads of other stuff on the channel. Go have a look. And you'll see Emmett and I next week. Like the video, all that sort of stuff. Thanks, bye. Bye-bye.